front and my back. Well, what I'm doing actually, I'm extending the length because I'm trying to use a sample length. The last time I drew a line from this point, so we're going to draft the exact pattern as it is for a size medium. I trace my patterns, but the pleats, the tail stops here, so I'm going to extend this to the bottom to see where they will intersect.
This is just a different way to do what
I'm teaching my own method.
Got it. It's cool.
Okay. So I made sure they are just meeting at this point. They are not overlapping. They are meeting. So I have to measure certain points. You measure the waistline, 19.5 inches from 19.5 inches for the waistline. You draw a straight line across.
It was from high point shoulder, right?
Yes, from high point shoulder. Across. You draw your underarm line right at the bottom of. This is my underarm. So I draw a line. All of these lines should be perpendicular to the center front and the center back. The horizontal lines should be perpendicular to the center front and center back. I measure my across front and across back, 6 inches from. Let's do 7 inches from high point shoulder, because that's what it's used on this pattern.
And that's across back?
Yes, and across front, across back and across front. Okay.
What is the total length?
Of this is 32 inches. I mean, it's ranged from 30 to 32 for a size medium, depending upon the fit. But it's like a classic fit. It has a little bit of room as compared to the custom fit jacket or a slimmer jacket. We draw a line, have 5 inches away from the center front. You measure 5 inches from here. 5 inches. You draw a line. I'm just drawing a line from the underarm line to the waistline. This is going to be my dart, but before I place my dart, I actually have to make sure my dart is always either from this point, it starts from this point, or underneath the pockets. You can do either way. If you have your pockets, you can trace your pockets. Like if you know how much you want to place your pocket, I can say, let me place from high point shoulder here, 10 inches. And from high point shoulder here, 9.5, because I want it a little slanted. Two and a half inches from front. I can as well place my pocket if I know exactly how much I want to place my pocket. Then as long as it is below this pocket, because you don't want the vanishing point to get into the pocket, you always want the vanishing point to be at least 1 inch below the pocket, but not more than 2 inches at the same time. At least 1 inch below the pocket, but not more than 2 inches at the same time. So it can be 1.5 inches, it can be 1 1/4.
That's your front, wait, How are you making your pocket right now? You made it slanted. I don't know.
Jacket pocket is always slanted.
So
This
you
is
make
just,
it-
I'm just giving you, like, if you know how you want to place your pocket,
Uh-huh.
but jacket's pocket is always slightly slanted. It's not straight. If it is straight, then it's not actually a well-made garment. So I'm going to measure this point. It's 2 inches. I can either do the hair, or I can as well go up by at least 1 inch. It's all up to me. I'm going up by half an inch, so that this will be my vanishing point of my that. I call this point A. The waistline, you measure this, that's here. It's 7/8 of an inch. Almost 1 inch, approximately 1 inch. This is a dot that I actually need to transfer here and here. So it doesn't matter how much you decide to transfer. I'm going to transfer one half of an inch here. Well, now I have to determine my bottom pocket placement, my waist pocket placement, which should be, so let's measure about 10 inches from here. So this is where I want my waist to be, my bottom pocket. You have to determine, I mean, I'm just throwing figures, but usually you can measure 10 inches, you can measure 11 inches, 12 inches, it's up to you. What you want to do, you can have a jacket on and you measure from the high point shoulder to the center of the pocket. That will really help you to place the pocket correctly. I'm going to extend this line down. Even though the waistline is my widest point of my dart, but I'm still going to transfer the half an inch here. So I'm going to bring 1/4 of an inch on either side. Even though my waistline is the widest part of my dart, but for this dart, I'm going to make the bottom here the widest part.
Because that's where your pocket is?
Yes, because I want my dart to vanish into my pocket, and I don't want, like, if I create a dart wherein I make here the widest point, and I make, as it goes to the bottom, it gets smaller, it's not going to be a nice looking jacket. So you just want it straight so that it gets wider as it goes down. So I'm just going to draw a straight line here. I'm not going to curve it, a straight line. So they half an inch. A straight line here. So I call these points B and C.
Why are you doing a half-inch total on the widest part of the dart? Like, didn't you say that you have to transfer the 7/8 from the space in between the side seams?
Yes.
But
I'm not transferring everything to the front. I'm going to transfer some to the back.
Okay, so right now that half-inch though is just like a standard measurement. It's not based on.
You don't always want the widest part of your front that's to be more than ½ inches in menswear.
Okay.
Keep it maximum ½ an inch. You don't want it to be more than ½ an inch because we don't really need that kind of shape. If we're going to taper in our jacket to make it fitted, you can do it along the waistline, along these seams here, the side panel seams, instead of doing it from the dart. So I have point A, B, and C. Now we have our front dart. You measure this dart at the waistline. It's less than 3/8. It's about 5/16 of an inch. So you measure this because now you know how much you need to transfer to the back. But because this garment itself, it's a little boxy, there's going to be no, I mean, you can always take your waistline. Say, if you take a tape measure and you measure your waist, for this garment, the waistline is 47. If your waistline is say 45, then that means you want to reduce even this one more. Because the waistline is boxy, it's a boxy shirt. The waistline for this shirt is 47, the chest is 48. So if you want to reduce it, you can as well reduce it. But if you want to follow just the exact pattern as it is, then let's go ahead. You move this 1 inch. Now we're constructing our side panel. We'll finish with the front dart. Is it clear so far? You move 1 inch away from the underarm. And these two, it's up to you. You can move 1 inch, you can move 2 inches, it's all up to you. It depends on how big or how small you want your side panel. There's no rule as to how big or how small your side panel is. The only thing I always do is I draft this pocket first, because I want this side seam. I want the pocket to go beyond this seam, like half an inch beyond this seam. So I always measure my pocket so that I draw this line and the pocket goes beyond it half an inch. So now that I have this point, let me draft my pocket. If you want the pocket to go half an inch beyond the seam here, you want to make sure it's half an inch beyond the dart as well. So I'm going to do half an inch beyond the dart for my pocket opening, and I go 6 3/4, 6 inches. So if I have 6 inches here, which is my pocket opening, I want this line to come through here when I'm drawing my shape. Yes, this point, you connect it to this point because you want your pocket to be half an inch beyond the dart and half an inch beyond the seam. So let's call this point point D and this point E.
And the width you said is 6 inches?
That varies per sizes. It can start from 5.5, 6 1/4. It's graded by 1/4 of an inch. 6 1/4, 6 1/2, 6 3/4, depending upon which size you're using.
Okay.
But for a size medium, which is like a size 30, size 38, 30, 38, 40, 41, it's 5 3/4 to 6 inches. So I'm going to connect this point with a straight line for now. Point D and E. Is it clear so far? You connect point D and E with a straight line. This is my pocket opening. The entire pocket opening is 6 inches. I move in half an inch to get point D, point E. So this distance here is half an inch to get point E.
So do you disregard that?
This
So
one?
she went, yeah, so she went
No, I'm
in
not
half
disregarding
inch.
it.
Okay.
It's still the pocket opening. This one is for the side panel
for the
seam.
panel, okay.
For the seam. This one is the pocket opening. I already have it. So now, if I connect this with a straight line, I can put a point here. Measure from the side seam to this point is 3 1/16 of an inch. So I'm not going to do the exact 3 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to move the 3 1/16 of an inch here. Because you want this to be in the center. Sometimes some people make the side panel a little to the back. It depends on
Yeah, the book had that.
The-
The book that we used, and I was confused because your measurements and the book's measurements were
Are
different. So
different,
when I was
yeah.
looking at it, I was.
Yeah,
I just
that's
do
why
my
I
own
decided
measurements
to
or
actually
whatever.
disregard the book and just teach you guys what I think they.
Is there any way to like mix what you did with the book, what we did last
No.
week, and just add the pockets?
No.
No, definitely what we have to do, if you guys want me to follow the book, then I need to draft a shirt pattern based on their measurements. That way we can use their steps according to the book.
Okay, 'cause, yeah. I mean, because I understood everything from the book, very, and I'm getting confused with the pocket.
But this seems to be a little, like, seems simpler than the book.
This makes way more sense to me.
No, what I'm doing basically, I'm trying to
But I
make
don't know
things
why.
very easy. Like the book will always tell you, move square, like you move, you square it down. I'm just trying to make things simple for you. This is like the first pattern. It's not going to be a production pattern. As long as your first pattern is good, you can show a product sample, take a look at it, and make adjustment to that. Whatever adjustment you make on your sample has to reflect on your pattern itself. Say it's 2 boxy, you want to reduce it by half an inch or by 1 inch, you can still do the reduction in your pattern. But the most important thing, let's try to get the side panel.
Can I just ask how you got the 3 and 1/16 of an inch on each side at the bottom, what you just did, the points that you marked? Is that just over here, these two?
Because I measure from this side, from here to here. It's 3 and 1/16.
No, I understand that, but you just made those
No.
marks.
I try to connect this point to this point with a straight line.
That was
It's straight.
That was the issue when I used yours
You
last
see?
time. I had to like adjust.
This
the-
is straight.
I see.
This point to this point with a straight line.
I understand.
I may not follow this as it is.
Cool.
But I just
If we need to like smooth the line in, where are the two most important? Like, is the two most important
definite
ones the
here.
waist
You
and
see here. The only thing I'm going to do here is maybe make it curve instead of straight.
So then from that, if it follows a certain line, then just follow that line at the bottom.
From here, if you can even make it a straight line. It doesn't matter. But you cannot move.
Past
You cannot move it in this direction. You can always move it
Got
back
it.
in that direction. So that's why I have these points here. Call this point D, E, F, and G. Okay, let me just connect this point to point F. It may not be the exact point. Yeah. So you connect D, E, and F. It's like a straight line. And you measure this point, transfer it on the other side of the side seam.
So identical on the other side.
Yes. But if I want, I can move my side panel a little bit towards the back. But I don't want to move it more to the front. This is a point I may want to keep. If I want, I can move it towards the back. I don't want to move it beyond this point towards the front. I can curve this towards the front, it doesn't matter. But this particular, below the pocket, has to go towards the back. If at all I want to change my pattern as it is. Say when I'm done drafting, I don't like the way my side panel look. I can tilt it a little bit towards the back, but not the front.
That you mean have more space to the back?
Have more room to the front,
Right.
and push the side panel itself a little bit to the back. So the back gets smaller,
Oh, okay.
the front gets bigger, the back gets smaller, and the side panel is just moved to the back.
I have a question. So you said you're going to grade was that a 1/4 inch?
The pocket,
Yeah.
per size,
Per size. Okay.
yes, plus or minus 1/4 of an inch. I'll bring a jacket pattern for a spec sheet for you, so you don't have to do the grading. It's already in here.
Thank you.
That would be awesome.
Thanks.
So you draw a line half an inch below this point, and 2 inches below this point, below the across back. You draw a line 2 inches below the across back. 2 inches below the across back. I'm going to square this line from here to here.
What's here to here? I don't see.
Okay, this is my across back.
Right. I don't get it.
Okay, and at my across back, you just square this line so that you have 90 degrees here and 90 degrees here.
Okay. So from across back to the line.
To the line that I just drew. Is that clear so far? Then you call this line G, you call this point here point F, GH, point H, over here. You connect point H to point G with a straight line.
Where's G?
G is here.
Okay, yeah.
You connect H and G with a straight line. You see, in actual sense, this is going to be like my back panel. I'm going to incorporate my dots. See? From this point to this point. See how easy it is? Now I just have to transfer
From the, what is it,
from
C?
H to G.
No, what is on top of C?
This, nothing. This is my across back line. I just squared the line from the armhole down to the new line that I drew, line
okay.
H.
Can I just roll back for 2 seconds?
Okay.
That 3.5 inch. Can you tell me how you got that?
This
again?
one is 3 and 1/16 of an
Okay.
inch. Let's say 3 and 1/8 of an inch for about 1/16.
818.
Yes.
8 is 17. Yeah.
This line from D to D, E, I just continue
Okay.
to F. Then I measure from here to here.
Okay, so
From the side seam to the new line. So is it clear so far?
Yeah.
So what we have to do now is to transfer the remaining dots to this guy. We have 1 minus 5/16. Let me see, 1 minus 1/4.
That's the new That's the new panel.
Huh?
That's the panel.
Oh, we're going to transfer the dot, then we're almost done.
at the bottom.
Oh, I'm saying like, but that is the back, the side.
This
panel.
is D, F, G, H is my side panel. I just have to determine the shape now.
It's so much easier.
Can I just
Yeah, that
ask
makes
you
a lot
a
of
quick
sense.
question? I know that you took this measurement as a half, and then you measured this.
You measure this, which is like 3/8 of an inch.
Why do you need both? Like, if this is the widest
You don't
point-
want the widest point of the front dots to be more than half an inch.
Okay, so I understand that. So,
So,
you have half an inch.
but we don't need this measurement at this point. The measurement along the waistline is what we actually need. That's why you have to measure here as well.
Got it. Okay.
Because you subtract this from this total.
And that's how you know how much.
That's how you know how much you have to transfer to the other side. So now I'm going to put 3/8 of an inch on this side and 3/8 of an inch on these sides. 3/8 of an inch on this side and 3/8 of an inch on these sides. It depends on whatever you have. I'm just rounding up figures because I have 5/16 of an inch here. I will always advise you when you are rounding up figures, instead of going up, come down. So if you have 5/16 and you want to round it up, instead of going to 3/8 of an inch, come down to 1/4 of an inch. Because you having room to play with. But if you go up to 3/8 of an inch, then there is very little room, or there is virtually no room. So always when you are rounding up a 16th of an inch to an 1/8 of an inch, round down instead of rounding up.
So, sorry. This plus this equals this?
Yes.
Okay.
So now you connect this point. I'm going to use my curve now. Connect this point.
No, you start on the armhole, you just square it out the point from this line, you get it 2 inches from the armhole below. No, because this is
If you can make this one a straight line. See, I make that one a straight line. And you connect this point as well. See, so you can make this a straight line.
was it across back or across
The last time Maggie said it was a side panel, so I don't know.
But they both are 2 inches.
Can I ask a question? I know this is like backwards. This from this 3.5, this 3 1/8 line. You just drew that up from down the hemline to this waistline. You just drew a straight line up. Is what I'm
Yes,
saying.
from this point, from
Not that one. From this. From
yes,
the
from
back
this
side.
point down, yeah.
Okay.
So now, if I am to,
It's a lot.
huh?
you're absorbing your dart into your seam?
Yes. So definitely you don't have any dots here, you just have a seam here. So if I am to trace my back panel, I'll just do this. You know what, let's move this to the armhole instead of here. Let's move it to the armhole. The reason is you always want your dart to be in the armhole. So this is going to be my front. My side panel comes this way. The red line is going to be my side panel. See?
Wait, can you go over how you just moved your line over a little bit?
You want your side panel seam, this point, to be along the armhole.
Oh, okay.
You don't want it, if you move it on a little bit on the inside, it's going to actually alter my measurements. Say below my across back, like about 1/4 of an inch is going to make it smaller. So move it to the armhole circumference. You don't have to do anything below this point, it's just from here to here. Then you move everything towards the armhole. As a matter of fact, this square line from H should have gone up. You square from H. So wherever the H intersects with the armhole is where the back panel should start. You don't really have to square it or whatever. Wherever, as long as you draw your two lines, maybe the reason why we did this is the pattern it may be different, but for some other patterns you have to square, but for this guy we didn't need to square, so you just look at a point where H intersects with the armhole. That's where your back panel should start. So the red line is actually my side panel and this is my back. But to get a very good shape for the back, because it's boxy, I'm going to taper in a little bit at the back. So I can as well take half an inch here and blend it to the across back. Now we're done with our front, we're done with our side panel. And if you, just as I said, if you really want to taper in your garment, instead of increasing your dart width here, you can always incorporate it into the side panel. Say I want to remove half an inch here, I can move 1/4 here and say about half an inch here. Just connect these points with a curve and these points with a curve. You can always do that to reduce it along the waistline, make it a little fitted along the waistline.
Can you go over how you got point B again?
Point B, we move, this is the O, this is the underarm. Point O is the underarm, it's 1 inch away from point O.
But you said that can be.
It can be anything, depending upon the shape. Say, I look at this sketch, I'm like, okay, it's too skinny at the top. Let me move this 1/4 of an inch. I can still move it another 1/4 of an inch. Just connect the 1/4 to this point. It all depends on whatever shape you have. If you don't like the shape, sometimes that's why I said this is a first pattern. We make our patterns. It goes through changes as we fit our samples until we get our production pattern. The production pattern is the one actually they are going to use to mass produce everything, all the garments. So you start with something like this and you change it as need be. Sometimes you can start with a first pattern and believe me, it's so perfect that you just want them to go into production. So in as much as we have our front, we have our side panel, and now you take half an inch from here and half an inch at the back. I'm going to remove half an inch at the waistline and half an inch at the bottom hem. Then I just bring this down, bring it up to the across back, maybe to my H line, So you just bring it to 0 to this point, blend it to 0 here, and you bring this in 3/16 of an inch. The neckline, you bring it in 3/16 of an inch, and you blend it to here.
3/16?
Yeah, 3/16. See? There's nothing wrong if you want to leave it straight. Believe me, it's still going to be perfect. Because when you attach the collar, the collar actually is going to make it fit perfectly. So there's nothing wrong with if you don't want to move this in like 3/16 funny. So this piece here is going to be our back. So you trace the front separately, you trace the side panel separately, you trace the back separately, and you add half an inch seam allowances all around. Half an inch all around and 2 inches at the bottom end.
So do we attach the collar separately, or is it built in the pattern?
We go next use
Well, I'm just saying, just for, should we make this first?
we're going, yeah, make this first. We're going to work on collar and sleeve. Then when we are working on collar, maybe that will help us to work on different types of collar. That's why I don't want to do collar today, because we can do, if we do collar, then we can work on like different types of collar, how you can create them on this guy. So if this is so easy, let's get to work now.
Can you look at my